Okay, everybody, I'm going to try to see if I can make this work. Okay, wholehearted, real quick, because it's digital, I'm going to try to open it and show you real quick without getting bogged down. But I'm so happy to say that if I said the first thing was to maybe name it back in the parish, that this is something that being trauma aware is important to the parish. I think so many times we don't know where to start after that. And so I'm going to say up front and kind of unabashed way, here's a decent, think mini course, think mental health seminar that you can offer whatever you like. It's in English and in Spanish. There's even a young adult version. There's a facilitator's guide. It's all in one place. It's digital, so you can download it or you can project it. Let's get through a couple of things. Again, it's basic and helpful trauma awareness. It's not a clinical professional mediation. Doesn't do what mental health can do, but it is information on trauma's impact and how one might move forward mentally and spiritually. It's 4 sessions. Each session is about an hour or less. Notice what's in it. There's a little bit of content, followed by reflection, a practice for people to consider, followed by discussion, and for the most part, it closes with some scriptural reflection. Got a lot of stuff in it. Good mixture of real life examples, self-assessments, a drawing exercise, perspective taking exercise, guided imagery, the breathing of a song, journaling, etc. But what I'd like to point out is, note that of the 5 bullets, just one is discussion. So this isn't, let's sit around for an hour and talk about stuff. It really isn't. This is a dialogue that takes place with the participant and the material, the participant and the reflection, the participant and the practice for consideration. So there might be 10 minutes out of 45 or an hour worth of discussion that might be split up into 4 or 5 minutes, but this is a very quiet sort of method. Session 1, based on, by the way, we're using a word within a word. That's the method. So the first session is you come with your whole heart. Everything we've experienced is beating within us. What has been grace? For the mental health people in the group, what I'm starting with here is assets. We're not starting with deficits, we're starting with assets. Session 2, we may have a hole or 2 in your heart based on life's painful situations. This is the session where we really provide good information on trauma, some ways to deal with trauma, but we also help people dialogue internally with what's been your response to your own trauma. Session 3, sometimes it's helpful to let go of old, C-O-L-E within the word whole, some of our old expectations. Because of what we've been through, maybe we won't have the perfect marriage. Maybe that's out. Maybe we won't have the career we thought with a pension. Maybe we got laid off. So what are some old expectations that you might want to reevaluate? But session 3 is also the renewal session, where there's at least two different prayer experiences the facilitator is going to be expected to lead. So this is the prayer session as well. And the 4th session is about restoration. And this is where we combine the past and the future. And we put the 2 words together. And it's like, how do you get some of yourself back? What practices can you put in place? And the booklet offers them a bunch. And what does it mean to do the work, the difficult work ahead for yourself? I call it a parish wellness seminar. It closes with this reminder that really, when the program's over, there are 3 different dynamics to moving through trauma. One is recognition. How have I experienced trauma and what's been my response to it? One is renewal. How do I get inspired, literally? And one is restoration. What legal, financial, behavioral, social, mental things do I need to do to get my life back? And the nice part is this is not sequential. It doesn't say first you do this and then you do that. The program tries to say, this is like 3 different rooms in your house, a kitchen, a living room, and a bedroom. Each one has a different function. You spend as much time in that space as you need. It can be offered as a half day of reflection. I'm making this up. Saturday, 8 to 12. Sunday, 1 to 4 or 1 to 5. Or it can be every Tuesday night for 4 Tuesdays from 6:30 to 7:30. I want to be able to say to you, the mental health people that I've talked to who have been doing trauma stuff have been amazed at how comfortable people feel doing it virtually. So if I'm in a parish, I may decide to offer it virtually on Tuesday nights where people can do it in the comfort of their own home. And then I also may decide to do it next month on a Saturday morning. 2 different formats. I like to say one Zoom and another in a room. But I think it's worth trying both formats. Here's where you can get the material. We also have just today, we just got it today, 2 videos, a 15-minute video orientation on trauma by Father Reagan Shriver, who is a trauma pro. He's at Catholic Charities, but he's also head of the department at Vanderbilt. And I do a 17-minute thing on the program itself. So there's 2 videos that you can use to train your folks as well, or at least give them an orientation. Let me see if I can take you through it now. I hope I can do this. Let's see. Here it is. Nope. John, I can't seem to find my wholehearted. Here it is. Okay. So this is what it looks like. It's 32 pages, front and back. Again, you can, it's in full color. So it does print up well if you want to do color. It also shows on a screen real well if you use an LCD or you're going to share a screen via Zoom. Real quick, just show you a few things, get a sense of what it looks like. It's try to make a clean look. Let me see if I can show you this. It starts off again with assets, right? You come here with your whole heart, that kind of stuff. For reflection, what have been some moments of grace and blessings? What moments of childhood grace? So again, we start with assets and not deficits. And number 5 here for reflection, who or what's been a solid? Again, what are the assets that you already have in your life?
Mike, we can't.
And by the way, when we close 4 sessions later, we go back to this. Now that you've mentioned your solids.
Mike?
Yeah.
You can't see your screen.
Oh, and I'm having fun too. So how do I do that? Okay, I got you. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Aha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me back up real quick. Thanks for the prompt. So this is what the program looks like. Try to give it a clean look. For reflection, inventory on, what have been moments of grace for you. A practice like collecting moments of grace. What's the value of that practice? Some discussion. Here's some discussion is a personal exercise where people can draw, for example. I want to point out Ecclesiastes 3. This is here for a real purpose, and that is the philosopher, as he's called, who wrote this, reminds us that there's a time for everything, even crappy stuff. And so it's meant to sort of normalize for people that junk happens with all the grace as well. Session 2, you'll notice that now we move into what'd I do? Sorry. So I don't know what I did, fellas, but I just blew it up.
Just click on the page, Mike.
Yeah.
On the what?
Just click on the page, the actual text.
I am.
And if you're clicking, a few folks have asked that it be enlarged.
Okay. But I'm blue, guys. I don't know why I'm blue.
I would
Maybe-
just keep going. It's okay. It's just grayed out a bit.
Yeah. Shucks. Anyway, collecting moments of grace. Now you'll see in session 2, I'm playing with the word whole. So we start off with some real life examples. The marriage is over. A dream dies or is stolen. You're publicly humiliated. Here's where we present the information on trauma. Impact of trauma from the National Institute of Mental Health. A wonderful reflection on holes. For reflection, how would you describe the hole in your own heart? You can choose it's on the mend, it's an open wound, it's one I keep scratching, or it's healed up pretty good. And then how do you work through trauma? Again, this is the trauma information session on number 2. And then there's this discussion, okay? And again, people can pass or play. This is, you'll see in the facilitator's guide, it gives you some strategies about that. Session 3 is about renewal. What are some of the old assumptions you've had, the old values you've had, ideals that you might want to reassess? Again, it starts with real life stuff. As a 13-year-old, she was sexually abused by an uncle. She wonders if her father, who left, knew about it. You know, so it's real life stuff that sets the stage. And then the centerpiece for this is Psalm 51, a clean heart create for me, O Lord. Renew within me a steadfast spirit. Restore to me the gladness of your salvation. Uphold me with a willing spirit. And so we talk about what is it you would like to, what kind of renewal do you want to see happen? It's also the prayer, it's the prayer session. So if session 2 was the information session on trauma, number 3 consists of 2 different prayers, a guided imagery and the breathing of a psalm. Here's a practice offered by Joyce Rupp called Praying a Goodbye. Again, in every session, we try to offer a practice. This one is, what's it mean to pray a goodbye? Can you share a goodbye meal with a friend? Include storytelling. How about emptying a potted plant? How about lighting a candle or cleaning out a closet? And here's the guided imagery, which I think is quite powerful. And then we go to the 4th session. You'll see this room to write. There's a prayer you can do at home, which is very powerful. But then we get to the 4th session, which is about restoration. And it's about getting your life back. It introduces practices, a quote by Dorothy Day. I can't see anything, guys. I hope you can. But you get a sense. Paschal mystery is introduced here, not as a practice, but as a core concept. And basically, it lays out the Paschal mystery and says, you know, it's like being shipwrecked, marooned, and restored. Pain, loss, and new life. And people are asked to consider and maybe discuss if they want, where are they in the Paschal mystery, in their trauma? Have they been restored, or are they feeling in the midst of shipwreck? And then we introduce them to spiritual practice that are part of our Catholic tradition as ongoing work. There's some more discussion, and in conclusion, we try to say, okay, guys, now that this is over, please remember that there are three dynamics, really important: recognition, renewal, and restoration. All right, I'll get out of it. And John, what kind of questions do we have? Or
Yes,
thoughts do we want to share?
sure. Scott, you want to join us?
Here I am.
Got a couple to kind of send us off, but I want to. You mentioned using Zoom, and so one of the questions is, if someone chooses to do Wholehearted as a Zoom community, would you recommend adding more discussion time, or adding discussion after each section? What have you found works best with Zoom?
Well, we haven't done it yet, but I think I would take them through it as it's laid out. So I would say I'd share the screen where they're, first of all, everybody's going to need something to write on. I'd share the screen, let them go over the material, do the reflection, and then when it came time for discussion, it usually follows at a strategic place in each session. So I would just kind of follow the booklet.
One of the questions was, do you have resources on ministering to lay pastoral leaders who've experienced trauma?
I would say no, but every time we talk about a trauma thing for participants, it always comes up that those who serve others pick up trauma along the way, that serving others has its own forms of trauma, whether it's a correctional officers in a jail or prison, or whether it's ministers doing actual work and picking up what we call secondary trauma. So I would say that I'd ask them to participate like everybody else.
Mike, that was something that came up in our conversation with the good folks from the National Federation for Catholic Youth Ministers. They were talking about what the youth ministers themselves had experienced accompanying teens and their struggles.
Yep.
One of the questions is about how many archdioceses or dioceses has Catholic Charities presented this as a ministry? So the Wholehearted.
I'll jump in. We are just now rolling this out. We made a press release about the introduction of Wholehearted in November. And as Mike said, we just this week released the young adult user guide and the Spanish version. So this is new. However, Mike gave an excellent presentation at the Catholic Charities annual conference. And Mike, you have been as a guest to a number of dioceses, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Dioceses are bringing me in, or they're asking me to do it on Zoom, like I did for Louisville, as they begin to plan. And I would say to anyone here, if there's a collection of parishes, or if a diocese would like to introduce this, I'm willing to help. It's not a problem. Just reach out to Scott or to myself, and we'll try to service you as best we can.
One of the questions was around where could somebody get access, like to a list of referral agencies or professionals that parishes can access in their diocese?
Scott?
Sure. I would encourage everyone to reach out to their local Catholic Charities agency. The majority of Catholic Charities agencies have counselors on staff, behavioral health services, and they might be willing to, certainly would welcome any referrals, but they might be also willing to come into a parish to do some work in these areas as well.
I also want to say that in the video that we now have, besides the 15-minute on trauma, there's also the 15 minutes on Wholehearted. There's a sample parish bulletin that people can copy or tweak to sort of launch it.
A question about Wholehearted. Does the young adult version differ from the other versions?
Yes, it does.
So how?
It does in two ways. In one way, the pictures are different. The real life examples are more young adult context than the original edition. And there's I mentioned a prayer ritual by a practice by Joyce Rupp on praying your goodbyes. I pulled that from the young adult edition. I was too worried about suicide ideation, and we went to hit refresh. And so we did change a few things. So it's not just, it's the same in every way, but the examples are different. And that one prayer is different.
If they follow the link to Catholic Charities where the Wholehearted resources, will they get a link to the videos from there as well?
Imminently. We just got the links to the videos this morning. So they are truly new. They will be in that section of the Catholic Charities USA website. And I'm happy to share that CCUSA is soon to introduce a greatly expanded website with many enhanced features, and Wholehearted will have a dedicated section. So that's forthcoming, but the links to the videos will be up, I'm hoping, this week.
That's great. And the last is a comment that you might want to comment on. And it's just an observation. 1 point for further consideration. The resources today have focused on clinical trauma at the personal level. There's also collective trauma, which applies to group experiences. This is true of all of us during the pandemic, and especially true of our communities of color dealing with racism. This seems a very important piece that would require reflection, education within a parish and its leadership, but is an important part of trauma awareness and considerations of spiritual response.
Yeah. Totally agree with that. And what comes to my mind is that, like, for example, Wholehearted, that's a small good thing. But then if a parish wants to really open itself up to being trauma aware, there's more. And the notion of collective trauma is a wonderful add-on, a wonderful next one. And there's so many other things about that. But I just want to reiterate, though, that we should keep in mind that whatever we do should be open to all, as opposed to targeting a specific group that may have experienced a specific trauma. Because I'm afraid that people will say, oh, well, that's not me, that's for them. When we want to say, no, it's for all of us as much as possible, whether it's us directly or the people we love, the people we work with. Great point.
And last, any integration of Wholehearted with the Association of Catholic Mental Health Ministers?
Not that I am aware of. No, but again, this is new, and we're creating new relationships all the time. So perhaps.
I would love to have that conversation, but no, we have not got to that at all. To be honest, it hasn't been on the radar because Scott and I have been working on this thing for a couple of years now just to get it where it is.
Great.
And
Wonderful.
I just dropped in the chat, this is not related to sort of collective trauma, but since the subject of racism was raised, Catholic Charities USA in 2020, post George Floyd, came out with a revised version of our policy paper on poverty and racism that may have some good parish applicability. So I have the link in the chat.
Great. Just a couple of notes. The NCCL Catholic website has all of these wonderful resources we've mentioned. The video will be up there tomorrow, and I'm saving the chat, and so that'll be in a Word document. There's a lot of great comments and links in there that you might want to refer to. But from my side, from the NCCL community, I want to thank Scott and Mike for a timely and important and practical resources and presentations. So thank you to both of you. And for this wonderful partnership between NCCL and Catholic Charities USA that has just begun today, that will continue. And to all of you who tuned in, thank you so much for being part of this. There'll be more webinars coming from NCCL and as well as from Catholic Charities. So stay tuned, but have a great rest of the day. Our pleasure to bring this webinar to you. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody.
We had a,
Sure. You're still recording. just
oh
by the
yeah,
way.
December
Yep.
3rd.